reclaiming peace, restoring you. You've been lied to about productivity. Somewhere along the way, we accepted a dangerous cultural agreement that busyness equals worth, exhaustion equals ambition, and a full calendar equals a meaningful life. We have normalized overwhelm so thoroughly that stillness now feels suspicious. If your phone is not buzzing, if your inbox is not overflowing, if your body is not tired, if your mind is not racing, we have been taught to believe that something must be wrong. We call it being productive, but often it is simply panic in professional clothing. It is anxiety dressed as discipline. It is fear disguised as responsibility. It is self-abandonment rewarded with applause. The productivity trap is not merely about doing too much. It is about believing that doing too much is proof that you matter. It is the subconscious equation that says, if I stop moving, I lose value. If I stop performing, I become invisible. If I stop producing, who am I? And that is why so many people feel deeply uncomfortable in stillness. Stillness does not just remove the noise around you. It removes the distractions that have protected you from hearing yourself. The silence becomes a mirror, and many people would rather stay exhausted than face what that mirror reflects. Look closely at your own life. How often do you confuse movement with progress? How often do you feel a strange satisfaction after completing dozens of small tasks, even though none of them moved your life meaningfully forward? This is the modern hustle delusion. It rewards visible effort over invisible wisdom. It celebrates motion over meaning. It praises speed while ignoring direction. You can run very fast in the wrong direction and still be applauded by the world. That applause is one of the most dangerous drugs available today. Your nervous system was never designed to operate in perpetual urgency. Yet many people have normalized living in a mild state of emergency. The email arrives and your heart rate changes. A notification appears and your attention fractures. A message goes unanswered and anxiety begins whispering stories. This is not productivity. This is biological fragmentation. Your body interprets constant interruption as threat. Your mind interprets unfinished tasks as danger. And over time, this creates a hidden tax on your mental health called decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is not dramatic. It is subtle. It is the reason you can make brilliant decisions at 8 a.m. and feel mentally bankrupt by 4 p.m. It is why choosing what to eat feels impossible after a day of answering emails. Every tiny decision consumes cognitive energy. What to wear, what to reply, what to prioritize, what to postpone, what to ignore, what to fix. Modern life asks us to make hundreds of micro decisions every day, and then it shames us for feeling tired. This is why doing less is not laziness. It is intelligence. There is a reason some of the world's highest performers protect empty space in their calendars like treasure. It is not because they are less ambitious. It is because they understand something most people do not. Creativity requires oxygen. Insight requires white space. Wisdom needs room to land. A crowded mind cannot hear intuition. A saturated schedule cannot produce clarity. You cannot download new wisdom into an already overloaded operating system. Many people fear empty time because empty time feels unproductive. But emptiness is where integration happens. It is where the brain begins to connect ideas that previously seemed unrelated. It is where your subconscious starts solving problems you could not force with effort. Neuroscience calls this the default mode network, the brain's internal restoration and synthesis system. It activates when you stop doing. It turns on when you walk without headphones, sit without scrolling, rest without guilt. Your greatest insights rarely arrive in the middle of frantic productivity. They arrive in the shower, during a walk, sitting quietly, looking out a window. These are not accidents. They are biological evidence that your brain needs spaciousness to function optimally. But many people resist spaciousness because they have built their identity around struggle. If you have spent years proving your worth through effort, rest can feel threatening. Rest removes your performance costume. Suddenly you are left asking a terrifying question. If I am not busy, who am I? That is why some people sabotage rest. They fill their weekends with errands, they answer emails during vacation, they create unnecessary urgency because slowness feels emotionally unsafe. This is not a time management issue. It is an identity issue. You may believe you are addicted to productivity, but often what you are addicted to is validation. Every completed task gives a small dopamine reward. Every checkbox whispers, "You are enough for now." The problem is that the feeling never lasts, so you chase another task, another goal, another milestone, another achievement. The treadmill never stops because the reward was never designed to satisfy you. It was designed to keep you running. This is why burnout often happens to highly capable people. They know how to work. They know how to push. They know how to endure. But they do not know how to stop without guilt. Their bodies eventually force the pause, their minds refuse to choose. Exhaustion becomes the boundary they never learned to set. What if success looked different? What if success was not measured by how much you can carry, but by how much you can release? What if success meant protecting your peace instead of proving your stamina? What if the most powerful person in the room was not the busiest one, but the calmest one? Imagine a life where your calendar contains margin. Imagine finishing work with energy left over for your own mind. Imagine ending the day without resentment. Imagine waking up without dread. This is not fantasy. It is what happens when you stop treating yourself like a machine. Machines can run continuously until they break. Humans cannot. Your mind needs recovery. Your nervous system needs rhythm. Your creativity needs boredom. Your spirit needs silence. These are not luxuries. They are maintenance requirements. One of the most radical things you can do in a culture obsessed with output is protect your mental margin. Mental margin is the space between your capacity and your commitments. It is breathing room for your mind. It is the gap that prevents life from constantly spilling over. Without margin, every small inconvenience feels catastrophic. A delayed email becomes overwhelming. A minor setback feels personal. A simple request feels intrusive. Why? Because there is no spare capacity left. But when you build margin, everything changes. Your patience returns, your perspective expands, your emotional resilience improves. You stop reacting and start responding. You become less brittle, more human, more available to yourself. This begins with a difficult but liberating truth. Not everything deserves your attention. Attention is your most valuable currency, yet most people spend it recklessly. Notifications steal it. Other people's emergencies hijack it. Algorithms monetize it. Busyness disguises its theft. Before long, you have spent your entire day attending to things that never deserved you. Doing less is an act of reclaiming ownership. It means asking harder questions. Does this task matter? Does this meeting need me? Does this obligation align with my values? Is this urgency real or is it manufactured? Am I saying yes because it matters or because I fear disappointing someone? The answers may unsettle you. Many people discover that their calendars are full of obligations they no longer believe in. They are honoring outdated versions of themselves. Old ambitions, old expectations, old fears, and they wonder why life feels heavy. It feels heavy because you are carrying things that no longer belong to you. Part of maturity is learning to disappoint the version of yourself that thought exhaustion was noble. There is another life available to you. A slower life does not mean a smaller life. A quieter life does not mean an emptier life. A less frantic life does not mean a less successful life. In fact, it often means the opposite. When you stop scattering your energy everywhere, it becomes concentrated, powerful, intentional, effective. A laser cuts steel not because it uses more energy, but because it focuses it. That is what doing less creates: focus. And focus changes everything. Focus is not just the ability to concentrate, it is the ability to decide what deserves your life. That is what most people misunderstand. They believe focus is about squeezing more effort out of themselves, but true focus is subtraction. It is elimination. It is the disciplined refusal to let your energy leak into places that do not nourish your future. Every unnecessary commitment, every avoidable distraction, every habitual obligation quietly drains your internal reservoir. And then we wonder why we feel emotionally dry by midweek. We wonder why our creativity has vanished. We wonder why joy feels inaccessible. But the answer is often simpler than we want it to be. You are overextended. Overextension has become socially rewarded. People admire the person who says they are so busy. They admire the calendar packed from morning to night. They admire exhaustion because it looks like dedication. Yet beneath that admiration is often a hidden misery. There's no room to think, no room to breathe, no room to feel, no room to recover. Only output, only deadlines, only performance. The person looks successful from the outside while internally becoming increasingly disconnected from themselves. That disconnection is expensive. It begins subtly. You stop noticing what you feel because there is no time to check in. You stop asking what you need because everyone else's needs are louder. You stop paying attention to your body because your schedule feels more urgent than your signals. Fatigue becomes normal. Irritability becomes normal. Emotional numbness becomes normal. Over time, your inner world becomes so neglected that you cannot hear it anymore. And then one day, someone asks, "How are you really doing?" And you do not know how to answer. That is not failure. That is disconnection. Many people are not tired because life is hard. They are tired because they have been emotionally unavailable to themselves for too long. You can survive that way for a while, but eventually your mind starts protesting. Your body starts protesting. Your spirit starts protesting. Sometimes it looks like anxiety. Sometimes it looks like chronic fatigue. Sometimes it looks like resentment. Sometimes it looks like sudden tears over something insignificant. These are not random malfunctions. They are messages. Your system is saying this pace is unsustainable. Yet instead of listening, many people double down. They buy another planner. They download another productivity app. They try to optimize their burnout. They believe the answer is better efficiency. But efficiency cannot solve over-identification with performance. You cannot organize your way out of a value problem. If your worth is tied to output, no amount of organization will ever feel like enough. This is why many people feel guilty during rest. They sit down to relax and their nervous system panics. Suddenly, their mind starts producing unfinished tasks. They remember emails. They think of errands, they invent responsibilities. Their body may be sitting still, but internally they are sprinting. This is what happens when busyness becomes an identity. Rest feels like betrayal. But rest is not betrayal. Rest is repair. Rest is where your body repairs tissue. It is where your mind consolidates memory. It is where your emotions metabolize experience. It is where your nervous system recalibrates. Without it, you are not operating at full capacity. You are operating on borrowed energy. And borrowed energy always comes with interest. Eventually, the bill arrives. Sometimes it arrives as burnout. Sometimes as cynicism. Sometimes as panic attacks. Sometimes as emotional withdrawal. Sometimes as a body that simply refuses to cooperate anymore. The body keeps score. It remembers every ignored signal. Every overridden limit. Every night you stayed awake when you needed sleep. every meal you rushed through, every emotion you postponed, every boundary you violated in the name of being productive. Your body may comply for a while, but it does not forget. This is why sustainable success is not built on maximum effort. It is built on sustainable rhythm. Rhythm is different from hustle. Hustle demands constant output. Rhythm honors seasons. There are seasons for effort, seasons for recovery, seasons for expansion, seasons for reflection. Nature understands this. The ocean not remain high tide all day. Trees do not bear fruit every month. Your heart itself lives by rhythm. Contraction and release. Contraction and release. Why then do we expect ourselves to operate without pause? We have confused consistency with constant intensity. But those are not the same. You can be deeply committed without being constantly depleted. In fact, your best work usually comes when you are regulated, not when you are frantic. Think about your clearest moments, your wisest decisions, your most creative ideas. They likely did not happen when you were overwhelmed. They happened when your mind was spacious enough to notice something new. Calm is not the enemy of ambition. Calm is the condition that allows wise ambition. This is why strategic stillness is a competitive advantage. While others are reacting, you are observing. While others are rushing, you are discerning. While others are exhausting themselves through motion, you are preserving energy for what actually matters. Stillness gives you perspective. Perspective prevents wasted effort. Most people are not overwhelmed because life is impossible. They are overwhelmed because they have not learned how to filter. Everything feels urgent when your boundaries are weak. Every request feels important. Every opportunity feels necessary. Every notification feels personal. But maturity is learning that access is not obligation. Just because someone can reach you does not mean they deserve your immediate attention. Just because an opportunity exists does not mean it belongs to you. Just because you can do something does not mean you should. This is one of the hardest lessons for capable people. Competence attracts demand. The more reliable you are, the more people expect from you. The more efficient you are, the more work gets assigned to you. The more emotionally mature you are, the more others lean on you. This can feel flattering at first, needed, important, valuable. But over time it becomes dangerous, because if you never learn to say no, your competence becomes your captivity. You become trapped inside your own usefulness. And then your life slowly fills with things you never consciously chose. That is why doing less requires courage. It means disappointing expectations. It means leaving some messages unanswered longer than feels comfortable. It means declining opportunities that look impressive but feel misaligned. It means allowing others to manage their own discomfort instead of rescuing them from it. It means trusting that your worth survives your unavailability. That trust takes time, especially if you learned early in life that love had to be earned through usefulness. Many adults unknowingly carry this belief: if I am helpful, I am lovable. If I am productive, I am worthy. If I am needed, I am safe. This belief creates chronic overfunctioning. You volunteer too much. You solve problems no one asked you to solve. You anticipate everyone's needs. You say yes before checking your own capacity. And because the world rewards this behavior, it can take years to realize how much it has cost you. It cost you presence. It cost you rest. It cost you self-trust. It cost you joy. But you can reclaim it. Not through dramatic reinvention, through deliberate subtraction. Start noticing what drains you unnecessarily. Notice the meetings that do not matter. Notice the commitments you accepted from guilt instead of conviction. Notice the habits that masquerade as productivity but produce nothing meaningful. Notice how often you interrupt your own peace to appear responsive. Awareness is where freedom begins. Then begin practicing intentional incompletion. This will feel radical. Leave some things undone. Let an email wait. Allow a room to remain imperfect. Say no to an optional task. Resist the urge to optimize everything. Watch what happens inside you. At first, discomfort, anxiety, guilt, restlessness. That is normal. It is withdrawal. You are withdrawing from the addiction to busyness. Stay with it. On the other side of that discomfort is spaciousness. And spaciousness changes how you live. You begin noticing sunsets again. You begin tasting your food. You begin hearing your own thoughts. You begin laughing more easily. You begin responding instead of reacting. You begin remembering that your life was never meant to feel like a constant emergency. That remembering is powerful. Because once you remember what peace feels like, chaos becomes less seductive. You stop romanticizing burnout. You stop glorifying exhaustion. You stop admiring people who are constantly overwhelmed. You begin admiring calm. You begin admiring clarity. You begin admiring people who know how to leave room in their lives. And slowly, you begin becoming one of them. This does not mean abandoning ambition. It means redefining it. Ambition is not how much you can endure. Ambition is how wisely you can direct your energy. It is not how full your day becomes. It is how meaningful your hours feel. It is not how many things you can finish. It is how deeply you can engage with what matters. This is the architecture of sustainable impact. Not more effort, better stewardship of attention, of energy, of mind, of self. That is what Mindcare as self-care means. It means understanding that your mind is not a machine to exploit. It is a sacred system to protect. And the way you protect it is not by squeezing more from it. It is by finally allowing it to breathe. So today, give yourself permission to pause. Permission to leave space. Permission to do less without apologizing for it. Let today be the day you stop worshiping exhaustion and start honoring your humanity. Let it be the day you redefine success. Not by how much you can carry, but by how peacefully you can live while carrying it. Because your worth was never hidden in your workload. Your value was never waiting on your next accomplishment. And your peace was never supposed to be the price you paid for your ambition. Choose rest, choose margin, choose clarity, choose yourself. Because when you care for your mind, you are not stepping away from your life. You are finally stepping back into it. Mind care is self-care, because healing your mind is how you reclaim your life.